Whoever aspires to be an overseer desires a noble task. That word aspires can trip us up. It's not a word that we would often use, but if you want to get the meaning of it, the closest to it that we normally get is you quite frequently hear, say, a footballer and described thus: he eats and breathes football. That means he aspires to be a footballer. That breathing bit comes closest, because the word aspire comes from the word to breathe, to aspirate. So someone who eats and breathes football has committed himself. His heart is set on. This is another translation from the NIV also, a slightly older one. If anyone sets his heart on being a leader, he desires. Now notice the connection with desire. This is something you really, really want. And you're saying, well, is that such a good thing, to want to be a leader? Yeah. This is why I wanted to talk in the last video about overseers and the difference between rank and status. It's not what we're talking about here. Someone sets their heart on being number one, a little badge that says, I'm number one, I'm the leader, all the attention, if that's what I aspire to get, all the attention on me. Or if I aspire to have no one ever tell me what to do, so I better be the one telling everyone else what to do, then I'm not desiring a noble task. Am I? I'm basically wanting to get my way. No, that's not what Paul is talking about, which is why I suggest we don't get sidetracked with the whole kind of overseer, deacons kind of thing. No, what he is talking about is when somebody's heart is set on being the kind of leader that God's people need. I'll say it again. When someone's heart is set upon being the kind of leader that God's people need. So that, and you will have seen if you read the rest of the chapter, is a big, big, big goal. Now the big goals in life don't get hit upon by accident. We don't stumble across the big goals in life. You don't say, well, hear people say, this morning I went out and kicked a ball around the park and now I'm playing in the FA Cup final this afternoon. It doesn't happen, does it? Well, this one doesn't happen either. So if we've got the attitude, a lot of us got into this because we were doing a task. Somebody asked us to do a task, so we did the task. But we never intended to become a leader. Now, I didn't. I was doing a task. Somebody needed someone to preach. And so I preached. But in that sense, becoming a leader wasn't my intention. In other words, I didn't intend to become Reverend Duncan Wright. And the status actually doesn't mean anything to me. Now, let's think about this. If I've got this attitude that says, well, I can take it or leave it. I never intended to be a leader. Yeah, and that's almost a proud boast, isn't it? It makes us sound pretty humble. No, let me ask it in a different way. Did you intend to give God's people the kind of example that they can safely follow? See, I never intended to be a minister, but I always intended to give God's people the kind of example that they could safely follow. I have failed many, many, many times, and we'll come on to that later. But you get the difference. No intention at all of wanting to be the number one. But every intention of giving God's people the kind of example that they could safely follow. No intention at all of having Reverend in front of my name. But heart set upon. I fully intended, always, being the kind of leader that God's people need and the kind of leader that God wants his people to have. So, then the question becomes, is this just a vague intention? Can you sort of take it or leave it? Is this a serious intent? Are you going to give it some welly? Or is this something that your heart is set upon? Is this something that you eat and breathe towards, you aspire to? If your heart is set upon it, if you are aspiring to be this person, then it's a noble task, as we shall see in the next video, if you join me there.